So, on April 10th, Governor Polis signed into law SB25-003. For all of those who don't know, that is Colorado's newest gun ban bill that, no surprise, was signed and passed into law. This is going to affect all semi-automatic firearms that can take a magazine. I know what you're probably thinking right now. That's just about everything. Well, that's why I'm making this video, specifically to highlight the idiocy and hypocrisy that is being played out before us, and how silly it really is when you look at it in front of your own face, and as I will explain it to you. I'm going to preface by saying you will see firearms in this video. Every single one of them is open and cleared. There is no ammunition. There's no magazines in the firearms. The bolts are all locked open and back so the chambers can be visibly seen as clear. I don't know YouTube's rules on this, so I'm covering my bases right now. Good. Alright, let's get into the actual shtick of it. This bill effectively bans everybody in the state of Colorado from buying a semi-automatic gas-operated firearm that takes a magazine. Why does that matter? Well, for one, we have this wonderful thing in America called the Second Amendment that will not be infringed, that says, in layman's terms, we're allowed to own these things. We're not allowed to do harm with them, just like every other object in the world. We're allowed to own them. There's a huge discrepancy between the right thing to do with something and the right to own something. The silly argument gets made all the time. It's a tough comparison, but it's a logical one, that if you can own a car, and you could very easily kill someone with a car, well, do we need to start doing background checks on people who are buying cars, and how safely do we need to monitor? And it just becomes a moot point. Like, I think it's better to analyze, like, why it's a bad thing if they're taken away. I'd rather not touch on the point of, oh, we should be able to keep them because of X, Y, Z. There's plenty of reasons for that I agree with. But I'd rather highlight the much easier point of, why is it a really bad thing if we take these rights away? So let's get to that. First, we're going to examine in physical form how really silly this is when you're looking at the logistics of this bill. We're going to look at a couple firearms that are going to be absolutely banned. To clarify, they will not be banned for people to own them. I will still be able to legally own these firearms, no questions asked. I just won't be able to purchase a new one in the state of Colorado without going through. They laid out these stipulations. If you do a couple weeks of training, you pay certain fees, you do a registration thing. It's an absurd thing. It's hoops that no one will ever want to jump through, let alone have the time to jump through. And yeah, here we go. Start off with the most obvious of things that they wanted gone. This is an AR-15. If you're not familiar, AR does not stand for assault rifle. It stands for Armalite. This weapon was designed not by the company Armalite. If you're not familiar with the two greatest gun makers of all time, well, you know, you could probably call it three. John Moses Browning, Kalashnikov, I'm pretty sure his name was Dmitri, and then, man oh man, Eugene Stoner. Shame on me for letting that slip my mind, because the amount of reading that I've done on that gentleman is quite an exceptional brain and mind that designed this firearm. Not to go down a deep rabbit hole, but it's nothing really special. This shoots a .22 caliber cartridge. There's nothing crazy dangerous about these types of firearms. yeah, people just have demonized them and vilified them because there is a very similar variant, an M4, that our military does employ. This is not an M4. This is an AR-15. They are very similar, but they are two different things. This obviously does take a removable magazine, and it is gas operated, so you will no longer be able to purchase this in Colorado in 2025, which is a bummer because they are extremely fun to shoot. Bit of background, I grew up sport shooting. And by sport shooting, shooting clay pigeons out of the air with shotguns, shooting very small targets at a distance with a precision rifle, shooting targets in succession with a handgun to see how accurately and quickly and efficiently you could do so. I thought, and I still think, that's an enormous amount of fun. For goodness sake, when I was 13 years old, I was certified to be a range official at my local Isaac Walton League out in Maryland, which is a wonderful environmental group that uses firearm sports as a segue into environmental conservationship. Yeah, I absolutely fell in love with it. So when I eventually moved to New York later on in my life, and people just had absolutely vilified guns around me, it was a shock to the system. So, very, very fun firearm. This is a really enjoyable thing to shoot. I have a optic on here that I can go from a 1 to a 6 times magnification. It's a great time. I think people should own these. They're really fun. It's like telling someone that you should get any other nice toy, a gaming PC, a fun whatever it is. When you start looking at this as a tool and as I really struggle to say the word toy because this is not a toy and it should never be treated as such. There are certain rules of firearms that I'm going to go ahead and go over now because it's a great opportunity and just share it with everybody. This is not a toy. You should always treat these things like they are loaded. That's a very, very basic rule. Despite whether they are loaded or not, even if in this case they are very much unloaded and safe, you should never point this firearm at something that you are not willing to immediately destroy. And the severity of that statement is for good purpose, because you should practice to never point this at someone under any circumstances. In the firearms community, that is called flagging someone, and it's a big no-no. Take it from someone who used to work as a range safety officer in a shooting range. It doesn't matter if someone means to or not. When you see the barrel of a loaded gun sweep past you and there's that like quarter second where you actually see down the barrel of a loaded gun, it's not a fun time. So we never point these at things that you are not willing to destroy. And you always, always, always treat them like they are loaded no matter what. And then also another very, very basic thing which people overlook is that if you are not ready to fire this firearm, if you're not actually shooting this firearm, doing any activities, especially if there is ammunition around, granted there's plenty of dry fire practice, which is something I'm not talking about, but even if you are, like if you're around firearms in general, at the range if you're shooting, you never put your finger on the physical trigger until you're ready to shoot the firearm. So you usually keep your finger up on the side of the frame of the firearm, and then when you are ready, you drop down into the trigger guard. Those are the 3 pretty basic rules of firearm safety that if you're bringing someone to a range out in the woods or whatever it might be, outside of having eyes and ears protection on at all times, that everybody should know, that keeps people safe around guns. If you follow those rules and keep your eye and ears on, there's virtually zero way to get hurt while shooting firearms, unless you have a crazy ricochet and you're shooting things you shouldn't be shooting, and that's a very rare circumstance. Anyways, back to the topic at hand. This you can't buy in 2025, and that's a shame. let's look at another thing that you can't buy in 2025. This is my new Glock 17 Gen 5 MOS. MOS stands for Modular Optic System. It means that you can put a little red dot on the back of it. This is a fantastic firearm. Some people carry the smaller variant of this, the 19, as an everyday carry. It's just an all-around do-everything, never gonna fail you handgun. This is chambered in 9mm. And yeah, there's not really anything negative to say about a Glock 17 Gen 5, but this isn't a gun review. What I'm saying is, for as great as this is, and for as worldwide, there's the number of millions these are around the world, but no longer legal to buy in Colorado. So, 2, now we're gonna get even sillier. Because you would think that gun laws would, I mean, all gun laws are just infringement of rights and absolute ridiculousness, but you would hope that there was some logic behind them at least. So maybe civilians shouldn't own, like, larger than 50 caliber artillery munitions. You know, I'm not saying that we shouldn't be able to, but those things being readily available, so I get it. There can be some logic to negotiating reasonable rules to society. I'm not against that. I get it. I'm not an anarchist over here. I'm just a libertarian and a nationalist. And so let's get silly. This was the first gun that my father bought me. This is what many people would refer to as a plinker. It is a little .22 rifle. This is a Ruger 1022. The number of these that have been made since the 60s when they began production, I believe. Oh, it has to be in the tens of millions. This shoots a .22 caliber cartridge. The little ones that go pew, pew, pew. And if the barrel's small enough, under 3.5 inches, it doesn't even break the sound barrier. This is arguably the least powerful cartridge that can be commercially purchased. Granted, it's out of a rifle, so it'll have a little bit more velocity. If you didn't know, the longer a barrel is, to a certain degree, the more velocity a round will pick up, compression, etc. Won't get into that. This, crazily enough, because it takes a magazine and is a gas-operated firearm, meaning that when the round goes off, the gases are used to push this bolt back, it expels the spent casing, and then the bolt goes forward and loads a cartridge with a bullet and casing, a full round, into the chamber, ready to shoot. Because of that fact, no one in Colorado will be buying their son a Ruger 1022 for Christmas in 2025. And that's actually crazy to me. Because this, in essence, is a more dangerous BB gun. This is something you go out and shoot cans. And if you have a squirrel or a bird pest problem on your yard, maybe put an optic on it. But even still, like, this is a very, very, very low tier. This is a couple $100 firearm. You can buy these brand new for like $200. They're $250, something around that. And it just seems ridiculous to me that something that is essentially a little can plinker, which was a loved Christmas present from my father, maybe it was for my birthday. Regardless, he bought me this gun. I love this gun. No kid is going to have that opportunity in the state of Colorado, the wonderful mountain state of Colorado, for goodness sake, where the only real concentrated populations are like Denver, Boulder, kind of Fort Collins, and then everything else is just open land. And yet, this is dangerous, which we'll get into the hypocrisy of in a second. Last but not least, again, we are going to go for danger, danger. This is a little .22 caliber, same thing as that rifle, little plinker. This is made by Walther in Germany. It's their PPK-S. This is just a really fun little firearm. It would be a great one to teach people how to shoot on, because it's very low recoil, it's a very friendly firearm, but technically it takes a magazine. It is gas operated, so this will be illegal as well. No more fun to little .22 pistols, and that sucks really bad. Because there's a Taurus TX22. Oh gosh, goodness gracious. Oh, just fun stuff. They're just making fun stuff illegal, just because they can. Just terrible, terrible, terrible. Let's see if I can refocus this camera effectively. I'm sorry if it's been out of focus this entire time. This is my second video I'm doing. I'm a rookie at this. Leave me some slack. Irony time. This, right here, this is not a removable magazine. This tube that holds rounds right here, this is not a removable magazine. This pump that I am actuating with my hand is not gas operated. So this firearm right here, which is a 12 gauge tactical Remington 870 shotgun, is not gas operated and does not have a magazine. So, the wonderful state of Colorado and Governor Polis says, I can't own this. This is dangerous. This is gonna cause crime. This is cool. Are we starting to see the absolute wild, vivid hypocrisy that is happening here? Now we're going to get into why it matters, and I'll be quick about that. For those who don't know, during the wild mass immigration that happened during the past few years, Colorado was one of those states that, believe you me because I witnessed it, there were probably close to 15, 20 hotels. I could count 12 just on my side of town that were closed down for business and completely rented out, with police standing at the front door, and they were just obviously where all of the migrants were staying. They were getting debit cards, they were getting benefits, there were all these things, police standing at the door. I tried to ask a question of this and that and was shooed off of the property. Wild circumstances. Ian, why are you bringing up migration stuff? Because it was no coincidence that literally 6 months after that fact, a Venezuelan gang took over an apartment complex in Aurora, just east of Denver, less than 5 minutes south of where a very close friend of mine lives and owns a home. They did so with illegal firearms by force. They're not going to be subject to these new laws. They don't care. Their firearms illegal. The only people who are going to be affected by this are legal Colorado citizens, law-abiding Colorado citizens. So again, we'll wrap this up. This little .22 pistol, pew pew pew, illegal. Nope, can't do it. A Christmas present? Nope, no more Christmas presents in Colorado. Yeah, sure, why not? Stupid. Anyways, I hope something gets done about this and it's deemed unconstitutional. I don't really see that happening. But what I would say is, while you can buy things, if you're seeing this in time, buy now. Ian Sword.